right, this is part 4 of our discussion about the oath of office. In this part, I'm going to share some information. It's very despondent, but it's necessary. So, this comes from an article called Congress and Police Reform, Current Law Updated, February 7, 2023. And it reads, in May and June of 2020, protests erupted nationwide after the publication of video footage of a Minneapolis police officer pressing his knee into the neck of George Floyd, causing his death. That incident, like others, sparked heightened interest in Congress's ability to implement reforms of state and local law enforcement. More recently, the January 23rd death of Tyre Nichols after a beating by Memphis police officers prompted renewed calls for law enforcement reform. Very despondent. Now, I'm going to make the assumption, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you'll hear me often say it, but if I stand to be corrected, then so be it. But nonetheless, I'm going to make the assumption that in these two very despondent and tragic situations where people actually lost their lives, I'll make the assumption that those law enforcement officers were not operating under an oath of office. And you say, why is that important? What difference does that make? Well, the difference being is that according to the oath of office, which is 4 U.S.C. 101, a officer swears an oath that he'll uphold the constitutional rights and he'll discharge his impartial duties according to his oath. So, what that means is that he's bound by his oath. On the other hand, a law enforcement officer that's not operating under an oath is not bound, right? And when you're not bound to an oath, it's a good chance that you can kind of do things